Welcome to another edition of Futurartist Records Presents. All bands, at some point or another, will play someone else's music, whether it be to fill out a set or to draw a comparison to themselves. But I have with me today in the studio a band that has a different approach. Futurartist Records presents Colorado's tribute to the Eagles, The Long Run. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Good morning.
Thanks,
a pleasure.
Why don't we start by introducing yourselves and tell everybody what you play?
I'm Mark Trippensee, and I play drums and vocals.
My name is Stephen Weinmeister. I play guitar, I sing, and I also play other instruments as well.
Bill Hopkins, bass and vocals.
Adam Ray, guitars, vocals.
Reese Morse, keyboards, acoustic, guitar, and vocals.
Cool. Now, we had spoken earlier, and you guys are coming up on a 10th anniversary. How did this band start, and how have the lineup changes happened over the last 10 years?
Well, the 10th anniversary will be coming next year, and so we're just kind
Okay.
of making plans for that. And
Oh,
so,
gotcha, okay.
But you have to make those well ahead of time. And,
Right.
The band started as a nugget of, can it be done? A little over 10 years ago, 12 years ago, while I was doing a stretch of dates in Sturgis with another band. And really no big design of like where to play or what money you're going to make, anything like that. But it was just if you can get the work done and if
Right.
you can actually put it together.
Right.
Yeah. And so
So how different is this lineup from the one that you started with?
much better looking.
Which is faint praise.
Subjective.
Aside from that, there's always a mix of personalities that need to work well with band and team playership and things like that. But it met a lot of good guys and worked with a lot of good guys and everything, and other guys had some other things they needed to do in life as well.
Sure.
And then we kind of fell onto this a few years ago.
Now, putting this all together and talking about lineup changes and everything else, all of you have played in other bands and have a pretty extensive background. I remember what you had mentioned the other day, 200 years of band experience between you,
We
or
like
something
to-
like that.
Over 200.
So,
Literally.
that's a lot of musicianship. Could you just touch on kind of what your background has been, and if you've played in bands you want to mention, cool, but you kind of mention where each of you come from.
I'll probably that's to Stephen first.
Well, I actually, for a guy who's been playing as long as I have, I've only played really in 3 bands, although I've played with other people. But early on, for the first 20 years, I played in a band called Winfield, which years and years and years ago was a real successful cover band in West Denver, primarily. Then I got drafted into a band called Firefall,
Right.
which has a greatest hits album and a long history of dysfunction. No, actually, I love those guys, and I'll see them soon. They're very, very wonderful people. And then I went from that band. There was actually a little bit of cross-pollination, but I went from them straight into this band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anybody else want
I've been
Divulge.
in countless bands since I was 15. For over 41 years, I've been playing professionally, and as far as this group of guys, I'm blessed to be a part of it for the last 5+ years,
Okay.
and it's good.
cool?
Billy.
Secrets among all.
Secrets among all. I've done quite a variety of things. Played bluegrass. Being from Southern West Virginia,
Okay.
Motown was the big thing when I was growing up and learning how to play music. And then I went to Western New York, of all places, and played in a bluegrass band for years before I moved to Colorado, which is where I wanted to come to begin with.
Oh, cool.
Original bands, all original songs, as well as the classic rock, top 40 stuff. And then I, too, as with Stephen, spent 27 years in Firefall as the
Okay.
bassist and vocalist.
We're not worthy.
Right.
And, over the years, it's been a great experience. This band is the only band out of 2 that I've worked with that actually have great vocal harmonies. Out of all
Very
the bands
cool.
that I've done work for, this band definitely succeeds.
Nice.
That.
Well, that is
vocally,
something.
and
Yeah.
that is something that a lot of bands do not have, that type of
I agree. I was checking out some of you guys' stuff on your site, and the harmonies are really nice. And the fact that it's live and they sound that good is,
Right.
So many bands might sound great in the studio, and then you see them live, and you're like, what happened? And you guys really do a fantastic job.
When I joined the band, I thought the previous iteration was really, really good musically, and they had two really good and strong lead singers, but that the backup vocals were lacking. That's just my opinion. But I told Mark one of my conditions upon joining was that we were going to work on the backup vocals.
Sure.
Because to me, if you're going to do this music, you have to be able to recreate that.
Absolutely.
Or you're going to be exposed.
And
Yeah.
people totally expect it. Our fans are fans of the Eagles. I remember doing a gig in Boulder and looking out in the audience, and a guy was singing along, not to the lead vocals, but to all the background
Yes.
vocals and rhythms. And I go, whoa, that's important.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, really important. How did you guys come to be in this band? Was it an ad, we're looking for a whatever, or did you know each other previously?
Well, I know for me, it was I was looking through Craigslist. I was freelancing, playing in 5-6 different bands, and long run looking for a new guitarist. And I thought, oh, how cool would that be? Being a fan of the Eagles from an early age, and I had seen them the prior year in Parker. So I answered the ad and I said, hey, I would love to be part of this. Love the Eagles, but I'm sure you guys are looking for a dedicated guy, and I do so much other things. And Mark responded, said, well, we all do different things. So I came in, auditioned, and the rest, they say, is history.
The funny context of that whole story is that I was against Mark putting an ad in Craigslist because generally you get the great unwashed, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
but lo and behold, there's Adam.
And before I jump ahead, maybe Reese, your background?
I had the good fortune of moving out here with my family from Nebraska, where I'd owned a karaoke bar for
okay.
10 years. And within 2 months, I answered a band mix ad, got a call from Mark. It was kismet. I mean, it really
Yeah.
was almost like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
I had, interestingly enough, about 14 years ago, when I was still in South Dakota, where I'm originally from, I had tried to put an Eagles tribute band together.
Interesting.
And I couldn't get anyone to get on board with the idea. They said, that'll never work. If you just play
Wow.
only Eagles, it'll
Wow.
never work. And came out here and saw the ad. And I think I can only speak for myself. The first time I auditioned with them, it kind of just fell into place.
Yeah.
From my standpoint, I'm sure there was some disgruntlement. And
Sure.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Yeah, it was rough behind the scenes.
it
Yeah.
remains to this day.
Yeah. And I think I'm the youngest, probably with the least amount of years of experience, out of all these guys. But out of high school, had a band locally that did a lot of the same bars, the same songs that most people do. And then we kind of ditched all that after I got out of college, and we started writing our own music, which
Okay.
is probably the best thing that maybe I could have ever done personally. And started writing with 4 other guys or 3 other guys, and putting together a couple albums worth of material, recording them, doing some of that thing, and then later on, married, had kids, divorced, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And,
sure.
But
Life
after that,
stuff.
kind of had a resurgence of getting back into music instead of just playing covers like I had been doing for several years, and was back in an original band doing a lot of openers for nationals, things like that at some larger places, and formulated putting this together, and started putting the idea together back in '08.
Oh, okay.
And it was like Stephen said, it was a Craigslist thing where it can be like a garage sale. Yeah, there
Right.
might be a lot of junk around, but somewhere in there is like a 52 tops Mickey Mantle rookie card. You're like, oh,
yeah.
I didn't think I'd find this.
I need that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can find those things when you look, and so started meeting guys, and it was the important thing to not work with just the same guys that you'd been doing things in other bands with for
Right.
10 years.
Right.
To meet new people and to open new avenues. That was exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. This is all stuff I didn't even know from
Sure.
talking to you guys before. This is
Yeah.
cool. Now, I don't know if you want to mention this or not. Do you have followers from your previous band come to your shows? Do you have diehard
Are you-
followers?
you can-
I'm picking on him first.
Well, he has followers from elementary school, so I mean,
Well, and that's part of it. You know, being from Colorado, growing up here, having bands here, do you end up having fans who are like, oh yeah, he's come to every one of my shows, no matter what band I was in. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't born here, but I was raised here, and so I have a lot of old friends, and some still do come out.
Yeah.
You know, and then some of my best friends, and but you know, these guys as well have a rich history of people that
Right.
came and saw them, and so I think that kind of streamlines into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always beneficial, right? When you have people who already like what you do, and that way they keep the interest in a new project. They're like, hey, yeah, I like that guy's other stuff. This is cool. Check this out too. We spoke on this briefly before. What's the difference between a cover band and a tribute band? Because you guys are an Eagles tribute band.
Well, a cover band, as I see it, is a band that basically plays all kinds of stuff. They cover all kinds of material. I mean, you may specialize in classic rock or bluegrass or whatever, but the point is you cover different artists. We focus on one artist. And I think when you do that, you have to be a little more focused in what you do.
Right.
And again, you know, the Eagles are famous for what? Well, it's their vocal blend and their singing, their guitars with, you know, guys like Don Felder, Joe Walsh, people like that. You know, we have to have the guitar parts right. People
Yeah.
know this music. They know it intimately. It's in their DNA. And again, if you don't recreate it well,
Right.
you're going to get exposed and people are going to know it. And I think part of our success has been due to the fact that we really care about the backup vocals. We really care about the guitar parts. And I mean, for instance, if we played Hotel California, you know, went off and did our whatever,
Yeah.
people would go, "Pfft," you know.
Right, right.
it's jazz, baby.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that, you know, that's something that I was thinking about too. Is it possible that being in a cover band, you've got some flexibility with your presentation, where if you're in a tribute band,
Right.
you've got to sound like the band you're trying to represent.
Right. True.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that difficult with Eagles music, or is it does it just kind of have a good feel, so it's not that difficult to try to pull off? Or
Well, from a guitar perspective, I mean, it's classic American rock tones, you know. So whether it's a Strat or a Tele or a Les Paul, and the amps, the tube amps that you're using, so those kind of tonalities you get, you know. Again, luckily, the Eagles weren't known for flashy stage attire.
right.
So
Neither are we.
And I think that maybe, in a nutshell, is maybe perhaps the most frustrating part about this, is that it isn't. If you're in a Kiss tribute band, there is
Yeah.
a look. There
Yeah,
is.
totally.
There are
Right.
actions. There
Right.
are things that each member does that are iconic to their fans.
Totally.
Right.
The Eagles, their whole thing was, we don't move on stage.
Right. Right.
We play our music. We get to the mics when we are supposed to be there, and we play the music the way it is.
So do you think that doesn't give you the possibility of distraction for? So you've got to be more on point that way.
I don't think that we have the visual to fall back on.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can be in a Kiss tribute band, and as long as you've got the makeup and the outfits,
That's half the battle.
that's half the battle.
Yeah.
Marshall Stacks, yeah.
Yeah, so with this, it's really, and it sounds cliche, but it is all about the music.
Right.
We have people that come up to us after every show. Lion Eyes has meant something to them since it came out
Totally.
in '75.
Yeah.
You know, these songs mean something to people.
Right.
And that's why, as Stephen alluded to, you have to play Hotel California note for note.
Yeah.
They just won't accept anything else.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Those licks and harmonies, the songwriting, the arrangements are ingrained, as Steve, I think, said, DNA.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. People are going to notice if something's
will.
not in place.
And I know I've been asked, you know, if you ever get sick of playing Hotel California, that kind
Right.
of thing. And the answer is really no, just because, you know, every night, you know, you're playing through some people that haven't seen you do it before. And you always have to pretend it's the first time. But as far as like a singing drummer goes, I mean, as long as you can compartmentalize things and you keep good tempo, you're not suffering here and you're not suffering here with
Right.
the singing, and you can get through the song and you've done it well, then that makes you happy.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I would guess with Eagles music, your audience response helps feed feed you so you're not getting tired of
Oh,
doing
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Well, again,
because it's so important to people.
Fry said on the History of the Eagles DVD that people, the Eagles music, people did things to. It
Right.
was a soundtrack
Yes.
of their lives
Yes.
growing up. And so, again, we hear that from people. Oh, my gosh, we conceived our child during this song or whatever,
Right.
type of thing. And that's kind of exciting to hear, that really, I got my own stories as growing up with the music. So, yeah.
I think you've probably mostly answered this already, but why the Eagles in particular?
Money. You're making tons of money.
I think we're all equally passionate about this particular band and what they brought to the American landscape of music, and for me it was the vocals.
Okay.
It was like when I went back and started rediscovering their catalog and re-energizing myself with that. And I remember one in particular was learning New Kid in Town on guitar and learning the chords and the progression and everything, and realizing all these years later what genius level of songwriting was in that, the way they modulated and then demodulated, and just the chord structure and the variations were just priceless.
Something
And-
that you kind of take for granted until you dig into it.
Yeah.
True that. I know that, I dabbled with Eagles stuff all my life, but then when I joined the band, I really knuckled down and started learning this stuff. And it gave me a huge more appreciation of the arrangements. It's like, Page with Zeppelin, his guitar arrangements are absolutely killer. Eagles' guitar arrangements are on par with anything that's been out there. It's quality and intricacy and...
Cool.
And
Well,
to take,
first off, there were too many Beatles cover
Right.
bands.
not enough as far as I'm concerned.
You could always use one.
So,
Oh, here it comes.
taking a 30,000-foot view for me, I love country rock, and they were really kind of the epitome of that. And I got lucky. Billy would probably agree with this, that he's kind of like me in the regard that, we landed in Firefall, and for me, it was being in the right place at the right time, because A, I've always loved that kind of songwriting. B, I've always loved bands that sing.
Right.
And so what better band to really epitomize everything that is than the Eagles,
Yeah.
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 Have any of you ever met any of them?
Yes.
Cool.
No.
Don Felder, back in '08, I think. Yeah,
Wow.
met Don
Timothy
Felder.
B. Schmidt, Paramount Theater.
Yeah.
Paramount.
Yeah.
Interesting aside, we use the talk box, for the Joe Walsh stuff and Felder stuff, and I manufactured a clamp that allows me to kind of make real-time adjustments during the gig, which I've sold 10, maybe a dozen to Don Felder and his guitar tech. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
It's my little
What's the name
entrepreneurial
of
thing.
it?
It's called the JED, Jed Clampett.
Nice.
Available.
Ramco.
That leads into my next question really well, and that is, what is your most memorable experience with this band?
Yet to come.
Yeah.
On stage or off?
Yet to come, and I think next year.
Yeah?
Yeah. And that's and the context behind that is that we've done some really cool stuff.
Right.
We're blessed because for whatever reason in town, we've got a following now where we sell out just about every show we do.
Nice.
And I'm talking about 400, 500, 600 seat venues. And so, the success of the band continues to build and build and build. We've got some stuff that we can't talk about right now.
Nice.
On tap for next year that's going to hopefully blow all that out of the water.
Cool.
So.
That's very cool. We'll have to have you back when
I think I could probably, these guys could probably echo this and finish off the story, but I think the show at Dillon Amphitheater and some of the conditions there and what things that occurred were, a level of heightened enjoyment on that one. And I, let these guys finish that story with...
Well, it's a beautiful venue for one thing, and they just rebuilt it. If you've not been to Dillon Amphitheater up there in Dillon, Silverthorne exit, they just rebuilt it and made it even better. I saw it under construction, but it's just you've a couple thousand easy seats. Big family-oriented thing during the summer, and then the backdrop, if you're in the audience looking over the amphitheater, is the mountains and Lake Dillon. And an interesting story, when we played a couple years ago, we had just started the set.
Take it easy.
Thank you. And I noticed that the people were standing up and they're looking up in the sky and pointing, and I'm going,
I thought we'd lost them already.
right.
I thought we'd be nuked.
What had happened is right as we started playing our first song, a bald eagle flew over
cool.
the back of the stage.
Right. Yeah.
I wish there was some photographic evidence, but you have to take my word for it. It happened.
Wow, that's cool. You're talking about fans and input from the fans and the types of shows you do and stuff. Do your fans pretty much always really love what you're doing? Like, do you ever have experiences where you go to a show and you're like, wow, this audience really isn't giving us what we need?
Sometimes people think we're too loud.
Okay, sure, yeah. The normal band stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not
We
sure.
actually always think we're too loud.
But the thing is that, you know, and I know what this is going to sound like, but since I'm part of the demographic, I can pretty much relate, is that this music, because of its age, our demographic's kind of getting up there in age.
Right.
And so, you know...
You'd think it wouldn't be an issue being loud.
Exactly.
You'd hear it better, you know?
But, I mean, if we start a show at 8 o'clock or later, we're worried, but by the end of it, there's not going to be anybody there because they're all going to go home and go to bed. So,
I always joke that you're usually home by the time 9 News comes on.
Right.
You know, so it's all
Well, you know, like they say, you know, 50 is the new 40. You know,
Yeah.
I also think death is the new 80.
The problem with that is people come up to us at the front of the stage asking us to turn down.
Oh,
But
wow.
We don't, them not having the insight. Our sound is only on the stage outward.
Right.
Anything
Right.
past the edge of the stage, you have an engineering company doing all
Yeah.
that, a sound company doing all of that.
Yeah.
And there's been times your voice is not loud enough, or your guitar isn't loud enough, or you can't hear the keyboardist. And
Have
we
you played
can't
enough to
control
get to
that.
know some of the house engineers? And
Yeah,
stuff?
sure.
What they-
Yeah. It's also the
Absolutely.
importance of having
Absolutely.
an engineer that works with you consistently.
Yeah.
When you can afford it, when you can afford them, and when the conditions are
Right.
Yeah, and that way you know what to expect when you go in.
a good sound tech is another member of the band.
Yeah.
Because
As it should
he
be,
knows
yeah.
the cues, he knows the solos, he knows who sings.
Yeah.
We've got
And-
two of the best.
Yeah, we do.
On retainer.
Nice.
In Dano and Randy for sure.
Yeah.
But we
Cool.
do have a couple that we work with that, if I can mention name,
it's up to you guys,
Stargazers,
yeah. Okay.
Nick at Stargazers and Chris at Soil Dove are two that really stand out.
Yep.
As
You know, for me, what's exciting about those guys that we were just mentioning, the fact they participate in the creative aspect of the performance of show and what we're doing, as opposed to being a police.
Right.
Look,
Yeah.
most sound techs, you know, they don't know the band, so they're just getting through the show, trying to ballpark a mix and get it right.
Right.
But the thing about those guys is, like, for instance, we were at the Soil Dove last week, sold out.
Nice.
And Chris, at the end of, we were doing New York Minute, and there's a thing, you know, at the end of the song, New York Minute at the end of the tune, and so the way the Eagles do it on stage, we do that same ending, and basically the band cuts off, but there's a delay,
Okay,
a
yeah.
repeating delay. So it's minute, 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 and Chris had it. He nailed it. He killed it. So
Nice.
if you got a guy like that, it really, and plus things they do with the lights. We talk to them beforehand. We say we want the stage black when we go out, and when Mark counts in the song, boom, the lights come up.
Yeah.
So if you talk to people like that, generally they're pretty receptive
Yeah,
to it.
it's a whole
And
experience.
they pay
The- the
attention.
Right,
the
right.
production,
Yeah.
the production staff is as much a part of the success of the show as we are.
Oh, totally.
I wouldn't want to forget mentioning Wes from the Opera House.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Wes
Sure.
Everett, you know, does a really
There's
good job with us
Yep.
too. You know.
Cool.
It's just the
Well, Mark.
monetary expense behind all of that, because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not only the individuals themselves that have the talent, but the amount of gear that it takes
Right.
to have that presentation. And we have been very fortunate where to be in venues that already have it, such as West down at the Dickens Opera House, or other venues outside where we have played that we've actually had those individuals that can assist us
Right.
and help us in creating that
Yeah,
presentation.
having the right tools for
Well,
what you're trying to do.
because technically, I mean, how many guitars do we have on
We're
stage in any given night? I mean,
26
13.
and a half.
We're a load for any
Because the
production.
mandolin is a little small.
We are a handful to mix. There's no doubt.
Yes.
That's cool. We'll kind of start winding this up, but how about diehard fans?
Oh, we have them.
Yeah.
We have them.
Has it gotten to a point where you're like, hey, how you doing, Joe?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I think
can
we're
have
just
dinner.
lucky to have them. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, and keep
Well,
them.
yeah, the fact that we have a handful that have probably been literally at just about every show for 5+ years I've been in the band. Wow. They keep coming. One of our ladies, Corinna, you know, Die Hard, she's out every time. We made her a personalized hoodie.
Cool.
You know,
Right.
So
Rick and Francis.
Rick and Francis, another couple that every show.
That's
So-
fun.
Yeah.
It is cool.
Yeah.
It is cool. And that, you know, that I'm always concerned for those people. And that. What was that? I was just going to say that, you know, the people who've seen us consistently for years, how do we kind of keep it fresh for them?
Oh, sure.
You know, mixing it up, not only sets or presentations. We do a Hotel California album front to back at some shows, and we're hopefully planning on doing another album completely at some point in the future. So,
Do they ever correct you when you make a mistake?
Oh, yeah. Some
Hey,
do,
we've been
yeah.
at your show and you didn't do
Yeah.
that.
You know,
Well-
what amazes me is that we, you know, in the band, since we know the arrangements, we know the songs, we know ourselves, we make mistakes all the time, but people never seem to notice. And you know, the key is if you don't go, oh,
Right, yeah.
you know, that sort of thing, you just blow through and we just kind of look at each other and go,
Yeah. Well, that one.
well, and it's funny too because 6 weeks ago I broke my index finger, and people have come up to me and says, "Oh, you sound just like you always did." I don't know if that's a good. I don't know if that's a good thing.
It's been
or-
humbling for me because he's better with 3 fingers than I am with 4. So,
One thing I think is worth mentioning, and I wanted to make sure I mentioned this
Yeah.
before the end of this, was that there was something that was very serendipitous that happened at the beginning of this band when I had first gotten it going. And I started, I didn't really know where I wanted to place the band as far as venue-wise. That was still kind of in the works. But I had played at a place up in Gillette, Wyoming, and you know made some friends up there. And there was a old guy that owned a roadhouse up there that we played at, and we'd opened up for some nationals up there, and he did kind of sound like Hank Hill, and he. You know, I said, yeah, we'd like to come up and open that show. And he's like, well, you all seem like you know what you're doing. You might as well come on up and play.
Thanks, Bobby.
And so then there was a funny conversation. He said, yeah, we had a band kind of like you and played last month. But you guys just bored me to tears. But when I called that same venue to book this band, thinking that it might be a good fit, he said, you know, I don't book that venue anymore. You got to call this girl, you know. And so, oh, okay, she's out of Nashville. And so I called this girl, and she ended up becoming a big part of this band. And I'm giving her credit posthumously. She passed away unexpectedly a couple of years ago. It was a big hit to me personally, and you know, for us, you know, because we had gotten really close, you know, and we, you know, fought like spouses and you know and things like that. And so when I got on the phone with her, I said, you know, we have an Eagles tribute band in Colorado, and she's like, you have one in Colorado? She goes, do you suck? I said, it's not what we're going for, but you know, but she said, I might have work for you. And so that launched us immediately into fair festival work. You know, before I knew it, I was out of state doing county fairs and festivals and things of that nature, which at that point I wouldn't have had the resources and knowledge to.
Right.
And she just tossed me into it.
A great boost right out of the gate.
Yeah, and
That's awesome.
so
Yeah.
you know, and her name was Exandra from Winterset Concert Events out of Nashville, and I owe a deep debt of gratitude to her for kind of throwing me into this edge of the industry, you know. And it wasn't until after she passed that I had realized what kind of influence her circle had hit in the industry with tons of people that I talked to.
Isn't that amazing how that works? You never know, and sometimes you don't realize the impact somebody has.
Yeah.
And sometimes you realize it, and then you didn't realize how big it was. You know, you're like, oh, this is important, but wow, that's really important.
Yeah, you know, and I haven't taken her name out of my phone, and sometimes I just want to text and see if she'll respond back, you know, that kind of thing. And so.
Tours. What do we got going on for tours? Do you have anything you can talk about?
no. Seriously, there's some really cool stuff happening, but we just can't talk about it yet.
And that's okay, because that'll bring me to this. How can people find out about it?
Hey.
Where can we find you guys?
The website that Stephen built with his own two hands. About two hands.
TheLongRunBand.com. There's a tour dates page, and we also encourage people to find us on Facebook, like the page. Mark's always sending out reminders about the dates that are coming up.
Sure.
And you know, we're on the verge, literally, of 3 million likes now. I think we're only 297 million short.
Awesome.
I know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys are on a roll already.
Yeah, it's you can feel the the inertia happening.
Right?
But we have a lot of the normal large concerts that we're doing up in the Front Range and in the mountains this year, and hitting some of our normal states: New Mexico, Texas, Utah, Idaho. Yeah.
Cool.
And
we're also we've also added a couple Alter Egos shows to the.
Oh,
Yeah, we haven't even talked about that.
Talked about that.
But 2 years ago, do we have time?
Yeah.
2 years ago, you had alluded to the fact that
Get anything done at
it's hard to
rehearsal.
get anything done at rehearsal. So that's true. And I was driving home one night thinking, you know what, we could make a show out of this. And so, again, tons of experience in this band. So everybody knows, I mean, literally, we'd start playing Led Zeppelin at rehearsal, and 30 minutes later, we're still playing Led Zeppelin.
Right.
So what we've decided was to do one show a year, because all we do is Eagles, right? So we do one show a year where everybody picks 5 songs that they want to do, and the only rules are that the band has to be able to pull it off,
Right.
vocally and instrumentally, and 2, no Eagles. So it sold out the first year. It's proven to be hugely popular.
Oh my God.
And so, yeah, we've got some really cool stuff coming up this year. I mean, in the past, we've done Carry On My Wayward Son, we've done Bonnie Raitt, we've done Marty Robbins.
Wow,
We've
cool.
done Toto, 3 Steely Dan songs the first year. So,
not much is off the, not much is really out of the realm of
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
That's what's really nice
Fun about it.
playing with this group of people, and
Right.
and as well, Billy and I came in about the same time to this particular organization, but I can honestly say that without a doubt, this is the finest group of musicians and people that in the
Nice.
35 years I've been doing this,
I hope they get that on film.
that I've had the pleasure of working with. And Stephen he's kind of self-deprecating, but he's quite a guitar player. I marvel sometimes
Cool.
at the things that
Well,
he's able to. Adam we know about.
I'm a red dwarf next to a supernova. That's basically the thing.
Astronomy.
Yeah, I do have to say, I went through a bunch of stuff on your website. I've not had a chance to see you live, which I need to do. But you guys are good. You
Thank
sound
you.
fantastic. You really do. So I encourage everybody out there to follow these guys, however you want to follow them, whether it's Facebook or follow them through the website or whatever. But check these guys out. They're really, really good. You guys are. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we'll have to have you back on when you get ready to release your secret project. And, see how that all works.
Yeah, it's
But,
really more of a just securing, making sure that we have all of our, eyes
making
dotted
sure the
for-
business stuff is taken care
Yeah,
of.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a fun show to do. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
We did. Thank you. Thanks
Make
for having
sure
us.
that you like this, you share it, you subscribe, tell everybody about it, follow these guys, and watch this show over and over because this was a good show. Thanks for watching this. I'm Michael Hartsock, and this is Futurartist Records Presents.